Actually, Ashok was alive. Okay, now it is record. Okay, just let me see. So link type करें साफ सुथरा देखें. Type that link. Going on. Yeah, it has come. It's going live. Very good. Okay. All right. That's excellent. Good afternoon. This is Field Senior Trainer and International Master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State session to this intermediate training session. So, this session I will be covering about pawn weaknesses. For example, a player makes innocently a weak pawn move in the opening and it costs dearly. It will cost him very heavily in the end game. I will give you examples from master play, great players, grandmasters, and world champions. All right. So in this given position, white is a former world junior champion, Kuzubo, and black is Olga Alexandrova. Now a pawn weakness. For example, white to play, white can fix the pawn on b6. Suppose white takes the pawn queen to b6, black gets counterplay. Queen into b6 or b8, and there is activity will start. He will play rb8, then rb3. So a4. Patience is required. A4. Now he plays that move. Backward pawn has been created. All right. Necessary. Otherwise, I will take the pawn, he says. Preparing for the c4 break. Now you can see black is tied down to the both pawn weaknesses and white will take the initiative and black is helpless in the absence of any counterplay. There is nothing else. He has to wait. Unfortunately, there is no activity. Black has to wait. And now this is winning the pawn and gradually white will make advance. So I can show you a game of Keras Bislov where there was a weak pawn, how the game went on. So this was I'm just picking up examples. So I'll go to the next game. Why is not showing? Yeah, this is this is okay now. So the next example I'll take you is it is between Kamaski and Nikolic. We'll go directly to the position instead of showing the game. Now this is a typical system in French defense, and White is just following the footpath of Mikhail Tal that King D1 when there was a check, and now the pieces are better coordinated. You can go back for a few moves. For example, the position was like this. When Queen F5 check King D1, but now he coordinates slowly. Okay, the C2 pawn is backward, but in return for that, White has lot of piece play. Suppose there is no piece play or activity, then white will slowly go down. But here, black's king side is very unsafe. His e6 pawn is weak, and this is pieces are uncoordinated. There's a knight on d7 which is redundant. King is safe now. Now white will prepare a4, a5 conveniently. If you will play queen c7, not ready to weaken the pawn structure, then the play will give you cannot take the double pawn, it is bad, and white will be slowly capitalize. Because after that queen into this thing is coming, so it is bad. But you should have played after this. You need not take the pawn. You play defend it. You can play pawn to a6, then rook to c b2, and gradually make progress. But he played hastily a5. Now white wants to regroup the pieces. White needs to regroup the pieces. The queen is doing nothing at the moment, and it is now the e6 weakness, a5 weakness, and also the king side weakness. Black cannot handle all the weaknesses and gradually goes down. Forced, and white is having now a huge advantage. Consolidation. Rook on 7th rank, then the g7 point. Now you should take with a knight. The pawn into is okay, but knight comes to attack very quickly. nd3, nf4, knight g6, and e6. So knight and into g6 and into e6. The pawn weakness, square weakness. So many times a pawn weakness also helps you in a middle game, the tactical opportunities and also strategic advantages. Apart from the end game play, I will show you the game of Rubinstein next. Let us see the game of Keres versus Smyslov. White Smyslov. Now black has a weakness. Okay, it has come from minority attack, so he plays queen to f. Forced. There is no other way. So it depends with the knight. Now he should have played queen a6. When black is hard pressed, the a7 weakness, his rook is tied down, and gradually he will pile up on the c pawn and the b file and maneuver the knight slowly to the queen side. One of the idea is to bring knight c3, knight a4, knight c5. Gradually he will make progress. But instead of playing this queen a6, Vaslav made a little bit hasty move, rook b7. It is always said the rook on 7th rank is very much desirable, but there is no immediate follow up. Agreed, agreed. Rook is entering 7th rank with a tempo, but f5. Suddenly, Black has got a free game. Now, but because he has got the b file to challenge. Now the counterplay is there. Now, if he had played queen a6, probably Black was hard pressed. Now, yes, s3, rb8. And this is how he got freedom. Now you should defend the pawn. You should defend the pawn queen c7. Then if third attack comes knight b3, then you have queen c6. The resourceful move on knight b3, you have queen c6. Rook takes is unplayable. Knight takes pawn, there is a counterplay. Black would have survived. But instead, Then the position is little passive and bad. Many players lose their way. You need to excel the art of defense. That is why Magnus Carlsen has survived so long in the top because of his resourceful play and good defense, good technique. Now instead of playing this, he played this testing move, trying for a desperate activity. This is not based on concrete calculation. In general move that I want to activate my rook. There is immediately rook check is coming. So now the counterplay stops and white will win the pawn and gradually convert the advantage. A pawn is no more defendable. The bishop is required. Now if you try to defend, the king side has become the attention switches to the black king now. Lost. Next game. This is Spielman versus Rubinstein. It should be red. You can see there are four pawn weaknesses. White has got b2 pawn also a target. So black has got active pieces and also superior pawn structure. Black only needs to clear his back rank. Thereafter, he is virtually winning. So Rubinstein demonstrates very efficiently. Necessary to exchange, no choice. Now d4 under attack, but counter. You cannot allow a check on f2, so forced. Now the game is lost for white if the queens are off the board. So a simple move. Rubinstein played queen to d6. Immediate with a threat. The threat is rook into f2, check. Rook c2 does not work. Bishop is watching, and also if you play passively king to g3, then rook into b2 will win easily. So only move here, rook attack, back rank. Now no need to play h6 because the king activates. The king is joining the endgame. King is a piece in endgame. Apart from several weaknesses of white, black is virtually like a piece of. Black is playing with four pieces and four weaknesses and two pieces are active. Forced, forced again. No, next king is king d5. He will lose and white king is far away from the scene of action and winning. An excellent example. Rubinstein was very good in his strategic play and also excellent in endgame demonstration. He was ruthless in exploiting small advantages in rook ending especially. Hello, Bhavani Padi, Namaskar. Okay, nice to meet. Hello, Sudhakar Sarkar and Kamakshi Vastu. Good afternoon. I'm having some problem with my laptop, so I'm using a friend's laptop, but I don't know whether tomorrow I will set right. Probably tomorrow class I will not be able to do. I have to set right my laptop. So thereafter I will be okay because all my data in my own laptop. This is actually a friend's laptop. All right. Let us see the next example. Rather skip this. You can see Petrosian is white and Bulko is black. Now you can see white has two pawn weaknesses, pawn a4 and pawn c3. But white has got better control of open lines. For example, the b7 bishop is not active and g2 bishop is having pressure. So in return for his weakness, now white has got active control of his open lines. Good, very good move. Now dc4 is bad. He will take queen into and the endgame is unattractive. Queen exchange, then black is in deep trouble. And he will play queen to d4, d5, but then double the rook. It will win slowly. You will not be able to defend so many weaknesses. The knight is superior than the bishop, and black will be losing slowly. So this is not attractive to play pawn into c4. So good move c4. Now, apart from the weaknesses of the pawns, the black's inside weakness also is too much. The white square weakness, it is difficult. It is like a camel in the tent. White queen is sitting inside the camp of black. Very difficult position. Force rather, there is no other good way. You can't make the queen passive. So only move and winning the game. Because if you take bishop takes pawn, there is a tempo. The rook c8 is unable to come and rook into c6. e8 is hanging later on. Force. Now rook c8, knight e5. You have to defend f7 also. Leave the g7 control. Then he will enter rook to 7th rank. And Petrosian went on to win the game. However, please note that it was middle game. Suppose it was an end game, queen off and early stage of the game, then white had problem. So just in time, white removed his c4 weakness, c pawn weakness, and got the activity. It's important to make a note of it. Feel free to ask me any question you want to ask. The next one, not this. Laskar Capablanca. Here, d4 pawn is weak. Normally, when a player has an isolated queen pawn, he should have lot of activity of pieces. So control of open lines must be used. But here, white pieces are not ready to exploit any open line. That means further exchanges will take place and white will get into slowly into trouble. So Capablanca played here, queen to b6, pressure on the d4. Now rook to d8. Want to exchange a pair of rook? Otherwise, if you play rook to e3, you will double the rook. With that of pawn c5 will come. You will double the rook. Now let us take a stock of the situation that black has two pawn island. Like a7 pawn is one island and rest of the pawns one island. Whereas white has three pawn island. f2 g2 s2 is one island. d4 is one island. a2 b2 one. So that means there are more weakness in white camp. And black has control of the c5. So not only the pawn weakness, also the piece position. Black queen is active, rook is active, and better pawn structure. And the back rank is clear. That means apparently the advantage is there, though it is not a permanent advantage. You have to take initiative to realize it immediately. So he goes knight pressure so that no rook c8 is coming. Anchoring the knight. The idea knight is settled at f5, no more g. With the idea going to c7 and penetrate to 7th rank. With the idea a5 a4. So the smoke is clear. Now white has two vulnerable weak points. Two weak points. Material is equal. Rook knight 5 pawns each. But the two weak pawns and black has the move. Capablanca played very cute, very nice move here. Not direct rook a6 because that will he will able to hold. After rook a6, black white can play rook b2 and everything in control. Rook b2 and everything in control. That is why he played first rook b6, forcing the rook d3. You can't play rook b2. Rook b2 is met by rook b4. If you play rook b2, he will play rook b4. So only move. Now, now the threat is to give a check and play rook a2, winning a pawn. Threat on the knight and rook b2. The simple threat is to play rook to check and king moves, then rook a2 and then rook b2, winning a material. So necessary, forced. Temporarily, white is hanging on the defense, but position is extremely passive. The king is cut off on the seventh rank. The knight is passive. Rook is passive. So now regrouping the knight. Check. The threat is immediate threat. Knight into d4. Immediate threat. Then rook into king moves. Rook into pawn. Now king has no move. It is a zugzwang now. Now rook cannot move because he lose one pawn. The knight cannot move. Now king to e2, but then a combination. It is helpless position. Zugzwang. If king f3 or king e2, rook takes pawn and the knight pawn. And king e1 also losing. After king e1, I think the simplest way to win the game is to play knight b4, then rook to. You will have a problem on defending knight and the b3 pawn. So you place this, but then the pawn and then. So the pawn weaknesses, for example, I can show you the game Karpov Korchnoi in the World Championship match where the weak pawn of Karpov cost him the game dearly. Even after adjournment, he could not defend. Okay, let me take you now to the next game. Hello, Clara. Nice to see you here back. Let us take to some double pawns. Now you can see that there are two double pawns. It should be red actually. I made it green. The two double pawns of black is a serious handicap. So when it comes to end game, there will be a big burden. I'm giving a threat of three double pawn. So only move. Now full of pawn weaknesses. Nothing else. You need to develop the bishop. There is no choice. You cannot help. Instead of losing pawn, goes to a lost ending. The knight is the boss, and white king is also excellently placed for both sides. And the pawn weaknesses cannot. The game cannot be held for a long time. Not there is no immediate win in sight, but without any counter play, black is totally passive, and Bronstein slowly won the game easily. Exchange a pair of rook, so that the king will be very safe always. The one rook cannot enter. What you need is a regrouping. The position it is good, but there is no target. So knight belongs to d3. You can't play e4. Knight f4 will win material. Forced. Again forced. Now suddenly the rook is unable to come from the c5. He will not reach the game now. He will just like imprisoned rook. The rook is imprisoned. Not pushing. Then counter play. If you play a3, bishop a5 will come. Play a6, bishop a5 will come. King. Now the rook is totally cramped. He could have played b3 also. b3 will force the rook. Then both the bishop and rook are useless. He is also winning. Winning. Now it is an easy win. position is lost. One by one. Now a pass pawn has been created, and there are still weak threat is there, and winning the a pawn and the game easily. Tempo. The simple threat king a6 or c4 c5 means material. So handicap of double pawns. Let me go a little further. I can see the I mean the relay. It is very slow. I think can't help the internet. Okay, the next some more examples of double pawn. One or two more. Okay, this double pawn is acceptable. For example, now white rook is developed as it is original place, and also the pawn controlling towards center. So this double pawn of white is okay, but black has a double pawn, also a weak pawn. A7 pawn is weak, and also C7, C6 is also very poorly placed. The rook is ready for activity. Normally, grandmasters are very safe. White did not play king g2. He can start operating with rook doubling on the d line and then bring to rook h4 on then pawn c4. He can work out slowly, but normally when opponent has a black square bishop, you should stay your king and major pieces in the white squares so that there is no sudden surprise. So this is quite a good move and methodically playing that prophylactic and safe, putting the king in white square. File necessary. If rook d8, queen in d8 is winning for two rooks. R d8, queen takes, and rook takes, bishop f8 is very passive and lost. So only forcing. There is no other way. If you play queen d7, queen f3 will come. So no other way. That means now putting another pawn, black has a bad bishop, bad pawns, also very passive pieces. So the game is virtually winning. However, the demonstration by Morozov is very instructive. Forced. You cannot play rook to a8 because rook double anyway will pick up the pawn. If you play rook 8, he may play rook a6 and double the pawn. Direct rook double. No counter play. He doesn't want to play c3 because then the d3 square will be accessible and winning the game. Pawn up with better position. Okay, all right. Hello, Kamal Makecha. Now you can see these are hanging pawns. Hanging pawn can be a serious weakness if you remove lot of minor pieces. So when a player gets hanging pawn, he should play for peace play and activity. Otherwise, gradually he will go down. For example, suppose let us remove two minor pieces each. Let us say remove black's knight and bishop and white's knight and bishop. Then black is in a serious trouble. So because the minor pieces are active, so The Botvinnik starts activity and pushes the pawn in time. The same was the case in Tal Spassky, which tournament it was? Montreal. Montreal 1979. White was Spassky, black was Tal in Queen's Indian defense. He had hanging pawns. Same strategy. He opened up the game just in time. You cannot accept that pawn. The pass pawn and bishop watching the c1 returning to enter. Now black's pawn is weak, but it is a central pass pawn. It is advancing vigorously. So his initiative is stronger. Suppose let us remove the queens, let us remove the pieces and bring the king to it. White will win the game. But it is not so easy to exchange so many pieces. That is why I showed the example. Not always the weakness. You have to look at the other factors. Ignoring the knight. Now queen into e5, you will lose. After queen takes queen and d2, unstoppable queen is coming. d2 for queen check wins. So he cannot play queen into e5. Only the same thing. You can't take that. Should win. Blacks, white has no activity and there is a mate threat. So only move NG3, but then still mating attack. The rook is entering. So that the example is showed so that you don't need to worry about a weak pawn if you have got sufficient active play in return for the weakness. This is Botvinnik is black. Let me flip the board. Okay. You can see both sides have weaknesses. For example, the black's e7 bishop is very poorly placed. There is no mobility, and black is unable to exploit the d3, b3, g3 lot of weaknesses because white bishop is watching the c3 square. Imagine the white bishop was unable to guard, he would have entered, but black has no plan now. So Botvinnik takes a very bold step, offering his rook at c3. And if black white captures it, he will have a pass pawn and he can exploit the pawn weaknesses. So a very excellent active idea by Botvinnik and it is exemplary. Dumping the rook at the outpost, rook to c3, offering little material. Is offered like a pawn gambit. You know, when you give the exchange for a bishop or a knight, you are giving 1.5 point, right? But activity. Now you need to accept. You can't decline that. Now the situation has changed. Black has an advanced pass pawn on the sixth rank. Number one. Black is focusing on the weaknesses d3. Number two. And more importantly, the black square bishop is now come to life. The black bishop 2 moves before was having no plan, but now he can occupy a great diagram. This diagram, of course, after 2 3 moves, you will find minimum in 50 books. Minimum. Most easiest way, queen exchange and win. Now, pass pawn, forced, bishop into, forced. You cannot play rook into. If you play rook of into, then this is seventh rank. Bishop check is killing. Rook f2 is unplayable anymore. Bishop c5 pinning and winning. So you cannot take with the rook. So only move. Only move. Beautifully played. because after pawn into rook, bishop c5, it is like a fight between rook and two advanced pawns of black. Now pawn into bishop c. The two advanced pawns are too much for one rook. Because the king is far away. Easy win. Very beautifully played because not only the pass pawn but the idea offering the rook at outpost activated. Suppose you will not play, then black is no good plan, and white will gradually consolidate it, and white will take advantage. He just needs 2 3 more moves to set right the position. If you give time, so exactly rook c3 and no choice out except and activating the bishop as well, pass pawn and focusing on the pawn weakness. Excellent play. Fifth of move. This is Master Estevez is white in the Leningrad Petropolis, I think. Leningrad International, I think International Leningrad. Ignore is Grandmaster, ignore is plan. White has an advantage. 3-2 majority and Taras formula. The both the bishops of black are simply no activity. A7 bishop is terrible. What else? You need to bring the black bishop into the game. No activity, no counterplay. So black's counter attack is too slow, and white has already taken a big initiative on the queen side. Slowly. That means 3-2 queen side pawn majority. That is a weakness of opponent. Suppose you are having a 3-2 majority. Let us say it comes in the which one? I would say Panov attack. It comes in Sicilian C3 Alpine system. It comes various setups. It comes where 3-2 majority, but other factors in control. Here, black has no activity, no counterplay, and hard pressed with a 3-2. So it is completely passive and bad. Post and black is lost. Practically lost. 3-2 majority, or you are having a pass pawn on the queen side, then there is no counterplay. In this particular given position, Karpov's time, white has a possibility, potential pass pawn on the queen side. So that is a serious weakness. And black is hard pressed without any counterplay. An excellent demonstration by the former world champion. B5. For protecting. Now, bishop into knight does not work. After bishop into a4, he can play pawn into queen. Bishop into a4, b into c7. Then queen into queen is not, bishop into queen, not working. The b8 is under attack. Only it is not about the pass pawn. The black queen is very passive, and the bishop on f6 is doing no activity. So black pieces are passive, and also white is making slow and steady progress. Is an advanced pass. So if suppose you have a pass pawn, that is a serious weakness for opponent, like Petrosian's Pasky match in the World Championship, or Karpo Smyslov. Smyslov was white, and his central pass pawn became too much. So also here, the black pieces are completely tied down and gradually is going down. Queen. Now if I counter attack, so d4 is forced. Exchange the bishop. There is no time to win the e4 pawn. There is no time. Takes. There is no time to take the pawn because bishop coming to c6 and winning. You can play queen f4, but then the pass pawn advances. So black is losing this way also. Here, defending the e4 as well and making progress. Idea bishop now knight c5 is not possible. So you want to plant the bishop on c7 and then on c5. Systematic play. Meaning various pawn structure also. Hello Suresh Kumar. Hello Gauravari Babu. Now I want to discuss a theme, the pawn nail. Three, four examples I'll give on pawn nail. What is a pawn nail? That means you make a pawn move completely paralyzing the position. For example, Karokan one variation it comes. Let us say this particular line. The more correct move here is bishop b4. This is more to the point. But this is an old game. Now we will make a get a pawn nail. Bishop is attacked. Now d5 d6. D6. Bishop f4. You can't play d6. Completely paralyzing white black. Now it was better to take. Of course, that is also a bad position, but at least pawn is cramping too much. So you should have played pawn into bishop into b5, and he can play though the position is bad, but it is what he did is worse. Instead of playing pawn takes pawn, he did here c6, which is terrible. You can't take that because after taking the bishop will sit down on e7 too much. These moves are forced, so I am not giving any explanation. The moves are forced. Third rank group operation, winning position. It's overwhelming. There is nothing. He's desperate. So he want to give a piece to get some freedom. Pawn on seventh rank, he can't take that. Lost. So it can come. For example, I can show the pawn nail in two, three different lines. Here, e4, c6, d4, d5, d5, bishop f5, h4, h6. The main line is h5. So here you can play g4 and suppose then e6. The position is terrible. By giving one pawn, black pieces are paralyzed. It will take a long time. For example, now you can play bd3. Now only move knight. Now bishop takes and now knight. The position is terrible position. He wants to come here, then queen d3. So in return for the pawn, the black pieces are unable to come. I can show an e4 e5 in Guico piano also it comes. For example, e4 e5, f3 and c6. Now bishop c4, bishop c5. Now, no, it comes like e4, e5, n of 3, and c6. Now, bishop c4, bishop c5, c3, knight f6. Now, d4, take, check. This is compulsory. So, in c3, and now he plays knight into pawn. Castle, bishop into knight. d5, he plays bishop to f6. T1, knight to. This is main line theory. Here, castles is bad because of the pawn name. And after taking, you can take directly or bishop f4 and bishop will sitting down at d6. This is a terrible position. Pawn weaknesses and also piling up. You can just maintain. So this kind of pawn nail, a player has to be careful. It can come from all kind defense also. Let us say e4 and f6, e6, n of 3, n of 3, g6, g6. Like this various uh, castle and this. I think it doesn't come. And this is the pawn nail will come. How does it come in the variation? Variation, I think. It is okay. No, it comes like this. It comes knight b6, bishop a4, then nd7. Now a4. Why a4? Because the rook is ready to come by a3 for attack. The a4 move is played not to trap the knight as is the main idea. Of course, this is a serious threat. So he is compelled. Now the rook is ready for action. And now knight g5 with a big strong attack is coming. So these are the typical variations. Alekhine defense in some other lines of say English opening, and here you can see that some Indian defense. So I will show you more examples of pawn nail. This I have showed you next. Now pawn nail. The D pawn he has kept there. Now all of a sudden you can see that black white pieces are simply cut off. The position is divided into two different parts. There is no link between the king side and queen side pieces. The queen is running out of space, and the knight is also very sticky. So it's a fantastic position. And Grandmaster Timoshenko won very easily. This reminds the game Karpov Kasparov, the World Championship match, 16th game match of 1990, 87, I think. Terrible position. Yeah. Hello Ramakrishna. What is today's topic? Today's topic is pawn weaknesses. Today's topic I am discussing only weak pawns. How a pawn weakness can be influencing the game. But I am showing you not always so. For example, now the pawn weakness can be a plus point in some time if it is advanced and active. For example, hello creative mind. I am showing another example like this. Arpo Kasparov. I will have to go to the World Championship fight. For that, just a minute. is Carpo Kasparov. I think Karpov was right. Yeah. It was it was yeah. This is the game. Let me see. Check. Yeah, this is the game. Very instructive game. Playable, but it is better to play in C3 and 1 to C3. Anyway, gambit, which is not the best way. It was a surprise element. The move is not the best move, and black would have played normal way, like bishop e7, castle, b6, bb7. But this was totally home preparation to take Karpov off the hook because on the board Karpov made an error. After 1 year, Karpov had the same position. Opponent was Vanderveer, and Karpov won convincingly. Okay, all right. This is where he should not have played. Instead of playing this move, White should have played bishop to e3. After b e3, White is having the advantage because the extra pawn on the board, Black will lose the grip on the position slowly. That is what Karpov did after next year when he played Vanderbilt in a tournament. He played that and beat him. That is why the pawn suffers unsound. But I will tell you about psychology. Now, Black has given a pawn. White does not want to take a pawn weakness. Normally, a technical player will accept, he will not allow another weakness in his camp. Now, b3, after bishop exchange, f3, there is a pawn weakness. So, he did not like it, it did not appeal to him. But the correct move, the post-mortem analysis showed that White can play b3 and get upper hand. Okay, he did not play this. Luckily for Kasparov, now preparing for rook d1, it is too slow. Suddenly, the knight is now completely dominating. The rook e1, rook c1 is not possible, and you cannot dislodge the knight easily. Okay, first bishop on knight is worse. After bishop into f6, queen f6 followed by rook d8. Only move. Now you can see that white black has got how many advantages? Number one, that the Taras formula. The knight on a4 has no mobility, practically no square to go. Number one, Taras formula. Number two, that the knight on d3 completely checking off the rooks. No rook is able to move. Number three, queen has no move. The only square he can go to c2, but that will go against the bishop's line. Queen c2, then he will work under the bishop's fire. So his pieces are terrible. He is losing his space and also no target in the black camp. No mobility, nothing. Practically, it is a virtual zugzwang in middle. You can see the rooks have no move, the knights have no move, the queen has no move. There is no other pawns on the king side move. It is bad. So only legal move is this is the means playable. Taking away squares. The bishop exchange is welcome, necessary because of g4 trapping the bishop. Technically, not allowing the knight b2 coming. Now here g3 you need to protect the bishop. G4 is a threat. Now again the threat. So, paralyzing. No queen move, no two rooks, two knight, queen. There's no move of white. I suspect the whole game and the middle game plan was home preparation. Simply paralyzed and winning. Now a lot of combinations will come and gradually finish him off. Still, I will show for academic interest. Check, check, and winning the game. So this move was not good, but it worked out well because it's opening surprise. So the gambit that giving so many weaknesses. Any question? Yeah. I want to show that game Karpov Korchnoi how the pawn weakness even a player like Karpov was hard pressed. So let me show you. Anatoly Karpov. Yeah, not on the world championship. Give me a second, I will find out. I think I'm missing Karpov Korchnoi. Slowly. I think I'm missing the game. It is not here. Maybe in mega data I can go, but take a lot of time. Take a lot of time. Okay, leave it. Next example I'm going you. Mainly when we make the pawns advance, we gain lot of space. And if you have a strong pawn structure and you have good control of one open line, then we have a big advantage. So I will show you some typical 2 3 games. So gaining space, h4. Now the one of the idea is to play h5 and create a weakness. And if black plays h5, is g6 point is lost. With the queen and bishop are watching. So only move. Now h5 is not dangerous because it is protected. So white is changing its direction. Forced more space. Even though the material is equal, white's advantage is decisive. There are three advantages. Number one, active rook. Number two, a superior minor piece because bishop versus knight when pawns are on both wings. Number three, he has black pieces are passive without any activity. Space. Taking the pawn is bad. So you can see now white's strategy of gaining space and the pawn weaknesses are much more in black's camp and the squares also. This much advantage is enough to win the game. You don't need some material always. Forced now not only a pawn up but better position and you won the game. You can see many times we systematically advance the pawn to gain space and that will end up in a tactical battle or some mating attack or a position like this creating more weaknesses and winning. Some one or two more examples the same thing. Necessary. Playing passively will go down. Bishop d6 is worse or bc3 is bad. Good move. Active move. Force bishop to h5, g4, a Taras formula. If you play, black plays g4. Knight sacrifice will not work and the bishop is just terribly placed there. No activity for a long time. And if you retreat the bishop, you have lost a lot of time. So eliminating, good move. Activity against the pawns. Very well played. Excellent play by Taimano, young Taimano. He was very good grandmaster, very good understanding. Any question? And an advantage too. So I will tell you that how the pawn structure influences the middle game, gaining space and taking away key points. One more example, Nasdorf Fischer, good move. Nasdorf, he has played excellent move. Now, suppose he plays b4, the c4 square is for white pieces. After pawn b4, the and capturing the pawn gets also activity to white. So you advance the pawn to gain space and control lot of squares. Now the c4 square is gone. f5 square, c4 square. White advantage is clear. Well, the position is bad anyway. He could have played here h5 probably. Could have played post-mortem analysis, showed some activity. But anyway, white is better. The idea is not to get attacked. The idea is to gain more space and crampness. In G6 is not possible anymore. If you play H5, then G5 square is very weak. Suppose G6 H5 is not possible. These rook exchanges will not change the character of the game. White advantage is still decisive because the D pawn is under pressure and he has lot of space. Idea bishop to B3. Black pieces are passive, white is active. And now the plan, another plan. Only move. Again the only move. You can't play F6. That would end up even worse. After F6, the knight D3 and knight F4. The only move. I will discuss one lecture on the pawn cover of the king. For example, now this kind of pawn structure. Sometime you have got pawn on F6, G6. Sometime you have got pawn F6. So I will discuss about weakness and pawn cover of king. How that influences the entire middle game. This can be one example. Now the pawn cover of the king is compromised. Immediately there is no danger. But because of the weakness on G7 and the king, you can get a lot of easy middle game points. Idea. Now bishop will enter. Totally paralyzed position. Okay. So you can see how the pawns are influencing, gaining space. Playing G5 will be bad. After G5, you will have a simple plan. The queen enters, or even bishop C2, queen D3, or even you can just exploit the diagonal and also queen entry will win easily. The idea of direct threat. So you can't play G5. Forced with a decisive initiate. Now NV7, then rook S3 and queen H4. So no time. Winning the game. Queen into pawn, queen F7 is unplayable and lost. Now queen F5, queen into no queen F7 possible. And after no this is lost. And after king to G7, king to F6, rook F3 is spinning and winning. So I will discuss once class 4 about the pawn cover of king. How a castle position, if you weaken, the opponent gets a lot of initiative. You cannot keep watching because he is preparing H5 and to creating a target. That's the only way to exchange. Forced, again forced, the winning position. Unshakable position. The E pawn is crumbling and king side. The king is weak, the E pawn is also weak. Lost. Avoid, you see, it is very important. The player should avoid making unnecessary pawn weaknesses because in middle game he will be totally passively placed. And also this will give a big initiative to opponent. Let me say again. Gligoric central pass pawn. This has come from Semitaras. Okay, the better was to play NC2, but you know, in this case also, white doesn't advantage. But it was a more active move, but he played the mechanical capture. The central pass pawn is decisive. In my earlier lecture, I devoted one session for central pass pawn. Now, white does not feel the essence of a one pawn. Black's two pass pawns are useless. They cannot advance. He is now totally passive. Immediate threat is d7. Gone. Forced. He is down. He is winning. So you can see that central pass pawn is a thing. Okay, I will give you one more example. Northman. Black has many weaknesses. Apart from his king side weakness, c6 point is weak. The a pass pawn is there. c5, e5 weak. So the only disadvantage of white is having his knight is under the pin. So queen d3, he wants to force queen exchange. Whereupon the extra pass pawn, the pass pawn will decide. And also, if you don't exchange, the knight is free now. Excellently played. Black is left with a two bad choice. Exchanging the queen is going into a lost ending. Or keep the queen, then the middle game is also very dangerous. Both way. So he decided to play, I mean, bishop into knight. Circle. Now the rook is imprisoned and the g file is open. Here you can say the white's double pawns are actually a boon. I mean, he is like completely choking black's pawns and the g file is open. So it is good idea. Queen d3, fantastic move. A feel for positions. Okay. This is also instructive. I could give a similar example also. Botvinnik Zagorowski, same way. Now let us see white has an advantage. No, no, just a minute. Ended with game six. Forced, anchoring the knight. As a rule, you should stay in white square and also keep the H file open for the rook. It's very difficult to find such moves. It is not easy. It is not easy. Rook d8. BD4 is bad. If you place BD4, the rook enters and decisive advantage. For example, now if you play rook b2, then maybe I will exchange the piece now. The piece is g7 pawn. So this is very good. Threatening a rook check, but it is harmless. Black is having better position now. But it was all because he found that excellent move rook b8. Not easy to find such moves. I will give you Mislav Jama. You can see that here technically white is plus minus. What are his advantages? There is a 3-2 pawn majority on the queen side. One. Now the rook is well placed on the open file. Two. And Black pawns are also weak. For example, the g5 weakness. If you change the pawn structure, suppose you put the bishop on g6 and you put the pawn on e6, everything will be totally different issue. And rook and d8. But now the pawns are not coordinating. Fast pawn is threatened. Well, you can't play passively. Now, if people may criticize after king e6, the pawn push forced, now check and winning the pawn. So you can't come king. So only move is played is e5. Only move winning the. So queenside pawn majority, activity of central pass pawn, or isolated queen pawn when active pieces. This counts. I wanted to show you a particular game. This is Kunte versus Lanka Ravi. It is a good idea to play g6. This is more better way to play. And after knight f3, bishop g7, b2, e5. Now a3. Earlier they used to play this rash move to meet a5 with bb2 first and then a3. But nowadays they play a3 first, not weakening. Because if you play a5, then b3. Anyway, his strategy is to come b2. And black has made a pawn weakness. So anyway, this e5 was more prudent, but g6 and d5 was more correct. g6 and d5 more sustainable for black, but not a good. Now bg4 would be bad because b2 comes with a threat knight into pawn, and this is still a blunder. After pawn into winning a pawn. This is also bad part. That is the reason black should have played g6 and bg7 with the idea b2 and putting pressure. d4, you can play knight h4 and knight f5, even c3. This also gives problem. Even c3 is also good. That is the reason instead of playing b3, modern players prefer to play a3. A3. With the idea b4, restricting pawn c4, c5, and bb2 and then c3. Now rook e8, b4. Now suppose you play then bb2. With the idea you play d4, then I have c3. Advantage to white. But anyway, this is also not a bad move. Red. So we have a position. Basically, it is something you will get such positions in royal office normally. The reverse color. This kind of structure. White can also go for the plan rook c2 with the idea queen to a1 and double the rook. Their plan is to play queen to a1, putting pressure as well and bringing the rook for the line. This is also possibility with the idea a6, a3 and also superior position because he will play c4, a3, b4. This is also alternate plan. The pressure. Now the squares f5 and d5 into e5. undisputed advantage for white. Forced. You can't take pawn into pawn opening. Force only move. Made threat. The king cover of black castle is now bad, and also lot of squares and also weaknesses. White has a very easy winning game. The main trouble started because immediately he played e5. In the opening, for example, if you play, for example, now g6, the game is okay because knight f3 e5, and now the same thing will not work. No, knight f3 bg7, bg7, and then e5. Okay, this is okay. There are some people make also typical errors. For example, nd2, you can't play nd7, nf6. So they make this kind of error, which is bad. So that the e5 is controlled, and now they are ready to play knight. So this is also not a good idea because the knight on d7 is poorly placed. For example, now I can play knight, and if you place now, you can play pawn into pawn, then d4. Suddenly, the knight on d7 is very poorly placed. You cannot go back b8 and c6, wasting two moves, and knight b6 miserable, no life. And this is exactly what happened. White was Bent Larsen, black was Eris Lobran, New York 1986. So there is a problem. Redundant knight. That is why it is not a good idea to play nd7 controlling e5. Best is to play here g6 and bg7 and e5. All right. It is for Karokan players. I am just suggesting Gurevich Piquet. Now, for example, this position not a good move. Stopping b5. The plan is to play open the position because the pressure on e4, knight on e4 is watching. So you want to open up the game. So this was not a good idea. It was better to pass. Let b5 come. You can play b3. You can maintain the pawn. But instead of playing this, he tried to stop. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Even f5 will come with greater force. Idea nz8 and then f5. Black has counterplay. Right. I will discuss about more pawn weaknesses. My next topic will be pawn cover of the king. How a weakness of castle position will affect decisively uh, for the player having initiative, and how badly it will black will be suffering, or white, what whosoever. It is not always black. Even the white can suffer by weakening the castle position of his pawn structure. So my next topic will be best for tomorrow. I don't think I will able to continue because this is not my laptop. I have borrowed it, and I will fix my laptop tomorrow. So day after tomorrow I will be back for the next session. My topic will be on cover. Okay. So thank you very much, friends, being with me. I will be seeing you back day after tomorrow, the afternoon, same time, 3 o'clock. Take care, everybody. Bye. Any question? You can ask me any question. I have time to give you for any opening doubt. On cover of the king. So I will discuss. That is a very important topic. Okay. So I will see you again day after tomorrow, same time. Take care. Bye.